Welcome to Spokane Talks, where you find news, views, and conversation that includes respect for opinions, facts, and diversity. Spokane Talks is brought to you in part by McNeese Wheeler Attorneys, Ponderosa Republican Women, and Rana Paint.
Welcome to Spokane Talks, where you'll find news, views, and conversation. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ryan McNeese. This week's episode will feature a few candidates running in local elections. Tonight's Meet the Candidates includes Mary Kuney and Rob Chase, both running for Spokane County Commissioner. For all of our interviews, visit our website at SpokaneTalksMedia.com.
The following is sponsored by our friends and community supporters at McNeese Wheeler Attorneys. McNeese Wheeler is a boutique law firm in Spokane, handling matters in both Washington and Idaho. Areas of law include business law, wills, trusts and estates, family law, personal injury and wrongful death, and real estate matters. For your full-service legal needs, contact McNeese Wheeler Attorneys.
Welcome to Meet the Candidate. My guest for this session is Mary Kuney, who is running for Spokane County Commissioner, District 2.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome, Mary.
Thank you very much for having me today.
I know we were talking about this is your first campaign because you were appointed to the position, so this is a new experience for you too, campaigning.
It is, yes.
This is just a get acquainted conversation, and I always start with where did you grow up and go to school?
So I grew up kind of between Spokane and Iowa. My family is originally from Iowa, Sioux City, and my dad was in insurance sales and kind of traveled a bit. And so when we moved to Spokane when I was in elementary school, he really loved it here. We ended up going back to Des Moines, Iowa for 4 years, and then came back here when I was a junior in high school. So I went to Central Valley High School out in the valley, and then decided I'm the youngest of 5 children, so decided I could stay home and go to college, and went to Gonzaga University at that point.
Well, that sounds good. What kinds of things drew you in at Central Valley?
So at Central Valley, since I went to an elementary school, McDonald Elementary, that fed into Central Valley, when I moved back, I wanted to definitely be with kids that I knew. Mm-hmm. So that's what drew me back to Central Valley School District, as well as, love the Valley, and that's where we wanted to be. So,
did any particular clubs or sports that you thought took your time?
Yeah, so I was actually in band and a dancer. So I did, dance with a dance troupe off to the, after school, as well as then during school did band and jazz band.
What did you play?
All of that. I played the flute in marching band and the saxophone in jazz band.
Oh, okay. I played saxophone as well. So I could have worn a saxophone pin today. Besides those kinds of early school experiences, they went on to Gonzaga, but how about a first job? What's your first job story?
So my first job story is actually in high school. I worked out at the KOA campground out on Barker Road, right off the river there, and so learned customer service, taking care of the campers, taking care of the money, the cash register, and all of that, and also was teaching dance at the same time to little preschoolers. So I had that first little troop of dance girls, and then from there I actually started work at Costco. So Costco, that was the third store, the one on Sprague that now's, that they've transitioned to the other Valley store. But that was store number 3. So for me, that was really interesting. So I started off as a caller, one of those people, if you remember back when, where you would move stuff from one cart, call the number, and move it to the other cart.
Oh, yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah. And so now it's all much more automated. But when I left there, when I graduated from college, I stayed there the whole time. I left as a cashier and was making more money there than I did at my CPA job down in San Francisco.
Well, those first jobs out of college aren't necessarily the best paying either. You're starting at the bottom again.
Yes, no. So, yes. So I moved to San Francisco after graduating from Gonzaga and worked for Deloitte, one of the large accounting firms down there, for 3 years.
And you passed your CPA exam?
I did pass my CPA exam, so I am a CPA, have been since 1995. With that, the experience down in San Francisco was really great, having that private business experience, auditing lots of major corporations, and then coming back to Spokane, for me was, I thought, a really good to jumpstart my career.
That's some basis for comparison there.
Yes.
Yeah. Are there some other kinds of travel that you've had that have helped, given you some insights to why you like to call Spokane home?
Yes. So after I moved back to Spokane, I worked in public accounting and then got married to my husband, Max, and we have 2 children. And at that time, public accounting is busy season's very busy, not conducive so much to a family. So I actually worked for the state auditor's office for 10 years. And after that, then I decided to stay home with the kids. And at that time, you have all these experiences and this knowledge. And so a friend of mine had come back from China, and she's like, we should start a tea business. And so we did. So Summit Tea was a business that she and I founded. We went to China a couple of different times to source our teas and figure out the best regions for the different teas and how to purchase them and, import them back to Spokane. And so that's what we did.
Oh, that's a fascinating small business to start. They
Yeah.
just jump right into importing. Huh. So you've had all this kind of experience here, and I know you also mentioned that you're on the Hutton Settlement Board.
I am. So I've spent, since I've come back to Spokane, 30 years doing community service. Most of the corporations that I've worked for, they want you to be involved in the community. And so with that, I started off in Junior League, then went on to the Boys and Girls Club Board, went on to the Hutton Settlement Board. I've been there for 10 years, and their current president. And so to me, it's all about the kids in the community and that community service. And so that's always been my focus, is to make the community better for our children.
Okay. Well, with all that activity that you're working on, not everybody steps up to run for an elected office. What prompted you to seek elected office?
So as some people may know and some may not, I was appointed. And so with that appointment process, when Shelley O'Quinn decided she was going to resign, I had several people come and talk to me, elected officials, community leaders, county employees, because at that time I was actually working as the chief deputy auditor for Spokane County. So I'd spent 2.5 years working in the county with the employees. And so it was really interesting that how many people came to me and said, we really want you to move forward and we'd like you to be our commissioner. And so that's what prompted me to put my name in the appointment process. And then, went through to the governor was the one that made the decision. But when I got the call from the governor's office, it was his director for boards and commissions said, you had more support than anybody that's ever come through this office. So I like to say the community was the one who appointed me.
That's a good way to describe that. So that's coming up to that last question that you get to answer is, how do you see the duties of this elected office, and why should the voters choose you?
The county commissioner's office is made up of, we're legislative, we're judicial, quasi-judicial, and we're executive. And so there's so many aspects to it that, somebody needs to know about. We have 2,000 employees, $750 million budget. And so I feel that my role as a state auditor, having that broad base of experience, because the county actually, I audited 2 years as the lead auditor, that, you have to understand all the laws and regulations that go along with that. And I feel that gave me a really good leg up. I feel that my community service has come together. My CPA background with our budget difficulties has all kind of culminated to make me a great county commissioner. And so I'm hoping to be able to stay there to make this county great and to, make it I see it as community service for myself, to make it a place where, we want to live, work, and play for generations to come.
Okay, well, thank you. That's a very good wrap-up, Mary, and I'm glad that you could join us today.
Thank you.
And have fun on your first campaign.
Thank you.
Ponderosa Republican Women is a club with members that come from every part of Spokane County. Although they differ in age, occupation, ethnic background, and cultural heritage, these women and many men stand together to promote government based on conservative principles, discover lifelong friendships, meet elected officials and candidates, hear challenging speakers, receive campaign training, and learn about the electoral process. Our meetings take place on the second Thursday of every month. Follow Ponderosa Republican Women on Facebook for more information.
See you tomorrow night, and thanks again for taking care of the painting.
I got this.
Bye. fun.
Weekends are made for painting. Let the experts at Rada Paint take care of you.
Hi. This looks amazing.
Rada Paint, over 80 years of quality, tradition, and trust. Find it in every can.
Okay, welcome to Meet the Candidate. And my guest for this session is Rob Chase, who's currently serving as Spokane County Commissioner and running for re-election. Welcome, Rob.
Well, thank you, Sulani. Actually, I'm serving as Spokane County Treasurer, but I'm running for a commissioner.
You're running
That's
for
okay.
commissioner.
All right.
You're serving as treasurer, running for commissioner. Okay, got it straight now. Should have written that down on my piece of paper.
Well, I've been doing so much doorbelling, sometimes I'll introduce myself and say I'm running for Spokane County Treasurer instead of Commissioner, because that's what I was used to saying 4 years ago.
Well, it'll be clear on the ballot. We can all find it
that's
there.
true.
And speaking of the ballot, part of the reason for this program is to let people be introduced to all those names that will be on the ballot and find a little bit about them. So tell us about where you grew up and got your early schooling.
Well, I was born at a very young age.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I know, good way to start out. But I was born in Denver. My father was in mining. And so the first several years we lived in Colorado. And then we actually moved to Spokane in '59. And we lived kind of up on Bernard there for a few months. And then we moved to Seattle. I spent the next 10 years growing up in Seattle. So when I was 15, we moved to Kellogg, Idaho, and the difference was just amazing. It was like the best thing that ever happened to me. I loved the rural area. I always kind of wanted to go camping and everything. We just had Green Lake, in downtown Seattle, but I would look at the Olympics and the Cascades and Mount Rainier and sort of had a longing, for that. And then suddenly, there's like elk in our backyard, and it was just a dream come true, and I had true freedom. Then I moved to Spokane during Expo 74, and I hadn't planned on staying, but I never left. I've been here for quite a while now, and it's been a wonderful place to raise our kids, and I plan on never leaving. So I've pretty much been in the Northwest all of my life.
Okay. Did you do some other education and training after high school?
Well, I went to University of Idaho right out of Kellogg High School, and I just couldn't figure out, a couple of years, I couldn't figure out what to do. Nothing really stood out. Mm-hmm. I admire people who suddenly, they know they've always wanted to be an electrician or something like that, and I just nothing. I was interested a lot in a little bit in a lot of things, but so I was like a mile wide and an inch thick. So I think that's a good background for commissioners. I've been in a lot of different areas. I've been in, of course, mining, smelting, but also electronics and insurance and real estate and mortgage. And then it all kind of came together in the treasurer's office. I thought, well, this has a little bit of everything in it, systems and all that. So the treasurer's office was just a wonderful step. I never in my life thought I'd be able to serve like this. I won as a write-in, and my whole goal was to be remembered as a good treasurer. I think I will be remembered as a good treasurer, and hopefully I'll be elected and be remembered as a good commissioner too.
Okay. We talked a little bit before we sat down about places that you've traveled, and you mentioned that you had traveled to Israel and Europe. And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was kind of a history buff. My parents were too. So in 1974, we went to Greece and looked up. My mother's father was Greek, and we looked up his little village, and you could barely find it. It was kind of inside of a little mountain range, and I think they're probably hiding from the Turks, and just stuck around there. But, suddenly they couldn't speak any English, and my mom could speak a tiny bit of Greek, but we had a letter from the Greek priest here, Father Vilas at the time, introducing, saying who we are. Well, even though we couldn't speak the same language, they threw out a huge feast and everything, and I think they expected us to stay, but we had to get back to catch our boat over to Italy too. But I always wanted to go back there. In fact, I had a third cousin they were trying to get me to marry so she could come over here, and it was pretty close, but then I married my wife instead.
I'm sure your wife appreciates that.
Yeah. But we went to Italy and took the Ural train over to Switzerland and Austria and Paris, France. And we had friends in England. We stayed up by Nottingham for a few days, but I think if I ever went on a big vacation again, I'd probably go back to Europe. My wife would probably go to Hawaii, but I'd go to Europe, and we'd enjoy it. We each have a great vacation.
There's some things that you've observed on those trips that you think come back to help you with the job?
Well, at that time, I really wasn't that interested in politics, or that type of working. I think I wanted to be an Indiana Jones type guy, but I never saw the ad in the paper for how to do that. So, but eventually, you wouldn't have insurance agents or bookkeepers or things like that unless people didn't know what to do with their lives. But you got to do something, so we kind of gravitate towards those things. And like I said, when I got into the treasurer's office, well, when I was running for treasurer, someone suggested, well, there's nobody running for treasurer. You should, do the write-in thing and see what happens. So I felt, well, gosh, don't you have to be a CPA? And I know nothing about the job itself. And but the nice thing was no one else did either. So I got in there, but I knew people that worked there, had worked there. You could add it all their years. They're there for centuries. So I asked them, what needs to be done here? So we formed teams with my deputy treasurer, Mike Volz, and we used a lot of the lean management things, for public services, and really worked out. So we made some great changes, by including the people. But when I started, the line at Tax Rush went down the stairwell at the courthouse, and now there's never more than 5 or 6 people in line. The big thing we did, we got partial payments passed. So it used to be you could only pay twice a year, once April 30th, and then again, this is how old it was, you could pay in the fall when your crops came in. It had never been changed. A lot of people acted like the sky was going to fall if we did that, but our cashiers love it. They don't have to send checks back to people that don't pay the right amount. They just deposit them, and the taxpayers like it too. If they have a life event or they're seasonal or they're, for instance, on commission, then they can make payments to fit their budget too. So it's been a pretty good thing. Yeah. But I did take a term limits pledge when I ran the first time. I said I would serve for 2 terms, and as much as I love the treasurer's office, I will keep that pledge. So the commissioner spot opened when Shelley O'Quinn resigned, so I went for the appointment, but Mary Kuney got it from Governor Inslee, so I'm making a contest out of it.
Okay, well, I was going to ask that last question that you get to answer. How do you see the duties of this elected office for county commissioner, and why should voters choose you?
Well, I think because I do have a wide variety of experience. I've had my good times and bad times. I worked for my father for a long time, and we were always just hanging on. So he made a buck go farther as far as we could. We used to joke that if a Martian had a ray gun, he would shoot at our plant. That would remove everything except welding rod and duct tape. It would still be standing there. So I think that, and I think since I've been a good treasurer, I'll be a good commissioner, and I'm all about transparency too.
All right. I appreciate you coming in today, Rob, and I wish you good luck on your campaign season.
Thank you, Sulani.
Up next, Startup Spokane, where we highlight the entrepreneurial spirit of the Inland Northwest.
Welcome to Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks. I'm your host, Steve Traben, along with Megan Hulsey. Startup Spokane is a program of Greater Spokane Incorporated, and we're here to talk about entrepreneurship and the ecosystem that we have to provide support for entrepreneurs in our region. Today, we're joined by our guest, Ed Reese, founder of Sixth Man Marketing. Welcome, Ed.
Thanks, Steve.
And the topic today is passion and the role of passion in entrepreneurship. So maybe we should start with a little quick, definition of passion from your perspective.
Yeah, from my perspective, it's that thing that gets you up in the morning. Like, what is the thing that you're going to be doing regardless of day of the week or responsibility? What do you keep coming back to? Essentially, your reason for being.
Yeah, good. And passion can change over the course
Right.
of a person's life, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
Passion is really based off interests, and those can ebb and flow, but basically it's what gets you up, it's what drives you, it's what gets you through the challenges and the good times as well.
Yeah, and it's really what forms a great platform for starting a business. And so, tell us a little bit about your experience with that.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, like I remember the day that I discovered analytics and a way that I was like, whoa, I could actually show that this worked better than that. I was hooked, right?
Yeah.
And then you discover you have all these great tools, for online platforms and analytics and all this stuff that in the early 2000s we had access to.
Right. So
And that
let's talk.
changed. Yeah.
I'm sorry. So let's talk about the intersection between passion and the need. So, and there's a model out there called Ikagai that you've introduced us
Yep.
to, and so I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about that.
Yeah, so I use it at my classes at Gonzaga, and it's a Japanese concept that means a reason for being. And it's the intersection of what do you love, what are you good at, what can you make money at, and what does the world need? So I think a couple of the problems or the misconceptions people have with passion is that it's all about passion, or it's like a checkbox of, yeah, I'm passionate enough. Well, the concept is there's this intersection of what are you good at, what are you passionate at, what does the world need that you could actually make money at? And that's pretty rare. So I've been encouraging the students and founders I've been working with to try to find out what that is for them.
Yeah, because if you can't check all 4 of those boxes, right? I mean, if you've got a great idea and you're passionate about it, but you're not solving a world problem or you can't make money at it, why?
What do you do?
Right?
Yeah.
So it's really a nice recipe for, hey, if I can meet all 4 of these criteria, then it's certainly worth pursuing. And it's not to say that idea may be bad. I can always make
it's
an
a hobby
alteration,
then.
right?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, it defines a hobby from something you can actually make a career out of.
So Ikagai, Ikigai, for folks if they want to look it up. And when we come back from our short break, I want to spend the next portion talking about a couple of real life examples here in the Spokane community that are some great startup examples that we're very proud of, and I think it really will highlight the Ikagai method and passion. So stay with us on Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks.
Welcome to Spokane Talks. We have had the opportunity to be out here on the Z Nation set. But also we're excited at Spokane Talks. We have several shows, different genres, from real estate radio, Spokane Talks Live, Meet the Candidates, The Locker Room. We have several shows coming to you that can be found on all social media platforms, as well as coming up on Fox 28. Thank you so much. It's been a great opportunity being here at Z Nation set. Thank you.
Welcome back to Startup Spokane, where we're talking to Ed Reese about passion and entrepreneurship and the Ikagai method. And we want to share a little bit more about a couple of local companies who've been really successful using that strategy.
Yeah, I think the first one that really, I would say the best example of that is probably Beard Brand. Eric Bandholtz was very passionate early on, and he wanted to create this company that had products for his urban beardsmen, and he saw the vision well before others. So his passion and his desire to build a community was well before the products and the revenue from that. He had natural skills, business ability, design, messaging. He had the skills, but really he needed to prove the model, and passion is really what got him through that first.
Yeah, so he was really focused on proving that there was a need for it, right?
Yeah.
And once he was able to do that, he had the products monetized and clearly the passion. And let's look at a second example with Spiceologist here in Spokane.
Yeah, I think with Spiceologist, because they had to create product and have inventory and have the higher cost of needing to store a lot of stuff, you had the ups and downs of just the financial burden, and needing to find national distributors to carry the products as well. So I think in looking at that passion, they had skills in that area. I think they had more of a guidance that the money was there, but I think that passion is also what got them through those troughs.
Yeah, I use the word perseverance, right? I mean, you have a balance between passion and perseverance, because it's the tough times that your passion actually can help you navigate and drive you through it. So it's really important. 2 great examples in our region, and so many other ideas in our region around a passion for people to hopefully look deeper into this Ikagai model and methodology and
if you want to learn more about how to channel your passion into the next business that you may be starting, please check out all the resources and opportunities that we have available at startupspokane.com. You can also check out some of our long version podcasts there as well. So we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you for joining us on Spokane Talks. We'll see you next week for more news, views, and conversation.
The economy is getting stronger, banks are lending again, and interest rates are at historic lows. Now is a great time to buy your dream home. The caring and knowledgeable professionals at Homes for You have been helping people just like you for over 20 years. They take the time to listen to what you want and will help you find just the right home in Washington or Idaho. Real estate is what we do at Homes for You, 928-5782, or visit online at Homes4U Spokane.
Ponderosa Republican Women is a club with members that come from every part of Spokane County. Although they differ in age, occupation, ethnic background, and cultural heritage, these women and many men stand together to promote government based on conservative principles, discover lifelong friendships, meet elected officials and candidates, hear challenging speakers, receive campaign training, and learn about the electoral process. Our meetings take place on the second Thursday of every month. Follow Ponderosa Republican Women on Facebook for more information.
Spokane Talks is about you. Give us your feedback and comments at info@SpokaneTalksMedia.com. Spokane Talks is brought to you in part by McNeese Wheeler Attorneys, Ponderosa Republican Women, and Rada Paint. We'll be back next week with additional news, views, and conversations. Please join us. So long for now.